the education of the children can be a long-term plan or a short-term plan or a daily event. Whatever decisions they make, you take some incidents in their life and make them to discuss and see when you take a situation and the real-time situation and discuss, then they will get to know what are the difficulties, their personal interest, their attitude, their formation in the past. All that matters when you take such decisions. Then you will come to know that it's not so easy to get into a type of democratic decision making. And it also helps them to realize unless and until you make a type of trial and error, you will not be able to practice this. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So shall we? Pardon? Any questions so far? What we have seen the other day? I have explained a little bit so that you will get more clarity. Any questions? Any queries? If not, we will move on to the next. Yes, very good. Now we get into the role, structure, and functioning. The operator, can you please share the slide? Slide number 22. You can go to slide number 22. Yeah, good. Role, structure, and functioning. In this particular slide, I have given all the different types of roles in one slide.
Can you see, sir?
Whereas,
can you see the slide?
Yes, I can see. Thank you, I can see. Yeah. So we'll continue. Like all the different types of roles we will see here. Then one by one we will explain, because unless you are attentive, you may not understand the difference between one and the other, because there is only a slight difference between each type. The first one, multiplicity and complementarity of roles. One person having several roles, and whereas the roles are exchanged in complementarity. I will explain further once we get into each of them. Then second one, role expectation and performance. I think somebody was referring yesterday when we discussed regarding the family problems, too much expectations. Yes, when there are too much expectations and the performance doesn't take place accordingly, then there can be a problem in the family. The next one is role conflict. The role conflict is how the roles are allocated. Then there is a type of diffusion in the role, or there is an ambiguity in the role. The next one is prescription and description. Like you are prescribing the medicines. In some families, the roles may be prescribed, and also there may be descriptions given, like it should be done so and so. Especially our married friends in the group, they will be able to tell exactly, like once you are in your own family, you are not bothered, but once you reach your husband's family or your spouse family, there you find each and everything. Suppose there are too much prescriptive. They prescribe what should be done in the morning, at what time you should get up, and what should be done next. Like that, it is given, and it is in a like a narrative essay. It is told maybe by sometimes if your spouse knows pretty well that the parents will get involved, he only will explain you how it should be done. Or else the mother-in-law will involve and she will explain you how it should be done. So that is a description. Then explicitly and implicitly. And there are some roles you will find that explicitly it should be done. Okay, this is the role of the husband. This is the role of the wife. This is the role of the mother-in-law. This is the role of the child. So like that, it is explicitly given. But some are implicit by the virtue of the position you are having in, and it is implied in that. Maybe like our traditional norms at home, when elders walk in, you have to Suppose you are sitting, you should stand up. So like that, it is implicit. I mean, you know it, and it is not necessary that somebody should tell you, like that. The role, accountability and acceptance. How much you hold on to the role, how much you understand, how much you practice it, and whether you accept that role. That is what role, accountability and acceptance. Then there is something called instrumental role and expressive role. Typically, it varies between father and mother. Once we explain in detail, I will give you some examples. So shall we go to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yeah. The idea of role, like the prescription, description, evaluation, and action, it may be a covert and overt processes. That means the behavior of the self and others to the behavior and individual initiative versus that which is directed to him. That means how people behave towards you and how you are behaving towards others. So this interaction, this is defined by your role. And the most common definition role, that it is a set of prescription defining what the behavior of a position member should be. That means, suppose your position is a husband, then what is your role as a husband? Suppose you are wife, what is your role as a wife? Suppose you are father, as a father, what is your role? Suppose you are mother, what is your role as a mother? Suppose you are child, what is your role as a mother? So that means the particular position defines how you should behave. Of course, in psychology, we deal with the behavior, and the behavior of a person is determined by the position. That is what the role is. Next slide. Yeah, now we come to multiplicity. It refers to different roles being given to one family member. Let's start with an example. Once there was a girl married to a traditional family, and that traditional and agrarian family, where they have a lot of agriculture, paddy fields, then they have cows and maybe poultry farm, and it is purely a typical rural agrarian family. Unfortunately, she was born and brought up in a urban situation. And she was from a nuclear family, whereas this agrarian family is an extended family. It's not fully joined, but a type of extended family. A few siblings are there, and their family members also in that, I mean, under the same roof. However, the mother of the house used to do all the work, and this wife who walked into that house, she is the wife of the eldest son in the family. And then naturally the mother hand over all the responsibility to her. Early morning she has to get up, then give maybe water to the cattle, then prepare the food. Meanwhile, husband along with his brothers and father goes to the field, and you have to prepare the food and take it to the field. And as days go by, she get along with that, and when they had children, even the child care she used to do. Meaning to say, there is multiplicity of role. She cannot get a space for her own. I mean, her personal space is almost zero. So that is the situation, multiplicity of role. Then coming to a complementarity. Today I have referred you a case of the boy who was caught in shoplifting. And there was multiplicity of role with the mother. Father was least bothered about the family affairs. As we have done the intervention, we suggested them, or rather we led them to a situation how complementarity could be practiced, sharing of roles. That means reciprocal role of role partner is carried out, where uh, you ask the husband, what do you expect from the wife? And you ask the wife, what do you expect from the husband? And some of them, you know that it will be too much of expectation. Then you can't, literally you can't. Then how it could be done? For example, the very act of cooking at home. If everything is done by the lady of the house, then she's burdened. Can you do something? Or it is not that you purchase the grocery and finish your whole work. No. Can you clean the house? Can you take care of the children? Or can you wash the dishes? And recently, I think I was going through one social media clipping, and wherein one day, one lady in the house, she took a decision. She wanted a strike. Of course, you are familiar with the strike. The strike is not outside, strike is inside home. She decided that I will do as my husband does. That means she get up early in the morning, will make exercise, go for exercises, then will have some tea of herself. Then she goes reading newspaper, all that. She did not cook food. She did not wash the dishes. And without washing the dishes, the plates were piling up in the dishwasher. So things were in such a situation, like after 2 or 3 days, the strike was successful, naturally. The husband was ready to discuss with him. It was a type of realization for him how much multiplicity of role my wife was carrying out to work. So that is the situation. Once you realize, we can engage them to a complementarity of role, help them what all things you can do. It's not like suggesting you should do this, you should do that. No. You can ask their opinion, or you ask the husband how you can help your wife in a better way. What all things you can engage yourself in the kitchen, in the dining hall, or taking care of the children, all that. Similarly, you ask the wife how you can support your husband. Of course, he is burdened with the outside work, but nowadays you can't say without, because both the husband and wife are working, and without both of them go for work, and it would be difficult for the modern family to sustain. So therefore, the outside work is equally a burden, and then comes the work-life balance. It is a matter of work-life balance. And nowadays, once you enter into counseling, you will get a lot of cases, especially the people who are working in the IT sector, or people working in multitask oriented jobs. Then definitely there will be the problem of work-life balance. And here this multiplicity and complementarity is important. Suppose you identify them that they are in multiplicity, and allow them to have an insight regarding the multiplicity of one of the family member, and how the complementarity could be introduced in the family, so that there is a type of sharing, there is a type of caring, all that. Hope you are clear about multiplicity and complementarity. Are you? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In between, I want to know that where all of you are there, or you just switched on your mobile or whatever gadget, then you are with your own business. Okay, very good. Yeah, next slide, please. You are all good students, cooperating well. Very good. Yeah, now we come to role expectation and performance. We'll give you a typical example. To start with. I think the case I referred to you yesterday, there was a case of the lady working in a railway, and the husband is a lawyer. The case I referred you regarding the lady has always the complaint that husband is with the parents and husband is, her in-law parents, they are taking care of the children and there is no sufficient space for her, or rather she is not considered, she is not valued. What I referred yesterday is that there were, I asked them a question like, if your parents are, your parent-in-laws are the problem, why can't you think of shifting? Taking a rented house and move out. And there I answered that she finally decided not to do so. That we discussed yesterday. And what I'm going to share today is the same family in a session. I just told them, you write down your expectation and come. Sometimes like classroom exercise or assignments, you will have to give some assignments to your clients. And the next week when they walked in and there was a pile of papers, a file in a wife's house. I thought things have improved. Naturally, the lawyer will have a pile of papers, and now wife is carrying that and all that. So I thought things have improved. Then when I posed the question regarding expectation, wife often these papers. Then I understood it's not the husband's legal papers, not the case file. It is her own case file, her own expectation. It's like our university 15-mark essay. She has the long expectations about what my husband should be. I allowed him to read it out, everything. And with such a surprise, husband was listening all that. Once she stopped, I asked, my dear man, what about you? Did you get time? I know being a lawyer, you're busy. I thought he has not done his exercise because no paper. Then he picked a piece of paper like a receipt from his pocket and he was reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With bulletin it is written 5 number, crystal clear. These are my expectations. That means the husband's expectation of the wife is only these 5 items, whereas the wife's expectation regarding husband is like an essay. What would be your response? See, when there is such a disparity of expectation, when she has too much of expectation, and when each of them are not met in the real-time situation, in the family, she feels upset. Her husband doesn't feel it's a problem because he has only very minimum expectation. And definitely that is met. So on the one hand, the expectation of husbands are met, whereas wife's expectations are not met because there are too much of expectations and it is not balanced. So that is why the performance, when a person perform a role according to the expectation, then there is perfectly all right. No problem. Whereas when the expectations are too much, naturally the husband can't perform. And I told you he was in a surprise. That means she never shared such expectations to her. Unless it is shared, how he will come to know? How he would come to know? So one is, it has to be shared. And even if it is shared, if it is too much, that somebody can't perform, then you are in a difficult situation. So that is why the expectation and performance has to match. When there is a huge mismatch, as a counselor, it is our role, it is your role and my role to help them to have a match in the expectation and performance. Yes. Let me pause this and ask you a question. How it could be done when there are too much expectation? Suppose, I think some of you will have a query like, sir, how did you manage this? I'm posing the same question to you. Suppose the similar type of family comes to your clinic. How will you manage? Tell me. Anybody, please. Yes, make them understand the reality. Good. Yes. Yes, resonance response is to understanding. Understanding is important. That is the first step. Then what is the next step? Anyone else? Confronting them. Confronting them, is it to make them realize or make them understand the situation? Yes, that also helps. Yes. Then what else could be done? Yeah, make them aware of the consequences. What will happen in suppose you continue like this. Through your questions, you can. I could not attend in between. Like educating them, then differentiate between the expectation can be met. Yes. Yeah. How do you meet these expectations? Then help provide insight. Then what is the next one? Can you just pronounce, because the what you type suddenly disappears before I could read. You can switch on your microphone and
help provide insight into each other's individuality.
Yeah. Insight we have already discussed. Yeah. Then further.
Openly discussing each other's opinion, like matter whatever is.
Yeah.
Part.
This is important. Like whatever they discuss, the expectation, the person, according to maybe the wife, she thinks that it is possible. It is possible that my husband can perform. But there may be some difficulties from the side of the husband that he can't perform according to the expectation. So unless you discuss it, unless you discuss the matter, unless you discuss how easy or how difficult it is and what are the situations and what is the perception of the spouse, all these, unless you discuss, you can't make a change as good. Then anything else?
Therapeutically, maybe ask them to try stepping out of character and risk taking.
Can you please repeat?
In a therapeutic perspective, you can ask them to do stepping out of character and risk taking.
Yeah, stepping out of the character or even role play, all this could be done. That is one suggestion. Okay, good. Then anything else? Any other?
Sir, I had a question.
Please, yeah.
If the person is aware that her expectation is not met and she knows that her expectation is too much, she wants to let go of the expectation, how do you help them letting go of that expectations? Or should we let go of those expectations, or should we keep the expectations?
Suppose you are the counselor, what you would do?
I don't know, maybe I'll try to explain her whether if it is realistic or unrealistic expectation. Like she wants to let go, but she's not able to let go of the expectation. She's got expectations from everybody. And with that she gets hurt. So I don't know how to how do we help them in that situation, because they want to let go of that expectation, but they're not.
Yeah. Your answer is very good. Like you have said, you will help her to or help him to realize, to make them reality oriented. This is something important. Usually in the class, I used to give a very simple definition for counseling. Counseling is nothing but reality orientation. See, you have ideally, or in your attitude, in your perspective, you have something which may be very high, which may be far away from the reality. So reality orientation is important. And the reality is that it is in a human living, what we call our ideas are different, understanding is different, attitude is different, our behavior is different, our communication is different. There is a whole lot of difference. In between the difference, you are trying something complementary where you try that some of my expectations may be fulfilled or may not be fulfilled. So the reality orientation only can help them. And suppose somebody is not ready to get in, okay, let the expectation be there in the dreams, let it go. And at the same time, let them feel valued, or let them feel that they should value the partner in all those they could perform at the minimum. You have very high expectations. All of them are not able to practice, or they will not be performed. But you realize that at least a few are performed, and you focus on those who are performed, and maybe allowing a time for the expectations to fulfill. I mean, the rest of the expectations to be fulfilled. Perhaps that may be a method. Hope I have answered.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Sir,
Yeah, please.
in older couples, there are chances that they are already involved in a particular way of interaction.
Yeah.
So if they and on their expectations, expect the same thing to continue. So what do we do in such situations, sir?
I think, I don't know whether it is because of my earphone thing. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
I'm audible. I'm audible now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Atina, your voice is breaking.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
you just type that question,
Hello?
then sir would answer you.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because your voice is breaking.
Can you hear me?
Sir, she will type that
Hello, can you
question.
hear me?
Sir, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, I think when Tina was expressing, it was not much audible. I thought the problem was with me. It can
Sir,
happen in the
I
family
have.
also.
She is in the train, sir. She's traveling and attending the session. Then I have asked her to type that question. She will set. She will type now.
Okay, please. Yeah. I did not get fully Atina's question, so please you can just type it down and then let us see. Any other queries? Yeah. If not, we will get to the next part. Next slide, please.
Can you see the slide, sir?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, now we deal with the conflict and strain. There is something called role conflict or strain. It refers to a felt difficulty in fulfilling role obligation. That means any situation in which the incumbent of focal position perceives that he is confronted with incompatible expectations. That means
Sir,
a person
excuse
will
me.
have, yeah, I will explain you.
Atina has sent a question, sir.
Yeah, please. Hello.
Question is already there, sir. So question has come already.
Yeah, but it is not visible to me.
Yeah. Maybe I will read it out, sir.
Please.
in older couples, why authoritarian style? Sorry, I cannot read that. What have you written? In older couples,
Ma'am, I think it's chances.
okay. In older couples with authoritarian style, chances are low for the partners to give up their expectation. What to do in such situations?
Okay. Chances are low. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is why most of these dynamics, it may be you have to deal. Suppose you deal with the authoritarian, you will have this expectation part also, it will overlap. So unless and until you deal with the authoritarian, you cannot meet the expectation part. That means unless the person is ready to have a dialogue, ready to make it democratic, or even ready to accept and understand the partner, then definitely they also will not be ready to perform. So that is why once you understand all these dynamics, and when you are taking up a real-time case, you will understand that they are always overlapping, like one after the other. Maybe the role is related to boundaries also related to communication, like that. So it all depends. What I would suggest is, according to the case, uh, from your, as a therapeutic, as a therapist, what is your discretion? Accordingly, and according to the situation, you will have to make a decision which should be dealt with. Whether you have to deal with authoritarian and settle that, then get into that, or you can deal with both of them. So it varies, but however, I don't think that it will be a difficult issue once you deal with the case. So there is no hard and fast rule regarding that. Hope I am clear. Yes. So
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So now I was getting into this conflict or strain. So that means you have the person who has to deal with the role, he or she has conflicting expectations. That means, to give you a typical example, I will give a case from a child mother situation. A fifth standard boy, and mother says that their house is in front of a busy highway, and the mother says that don't cross the road alone. So morning, she instructs the mother, instructs the boy, don't cross the road alone. You should be accompanied by somebody. Then afternoon, she says, you go and get some bakery items from the shop opposite to the road. Then child is in a confusion whether he should obey what is told in the morning. If it is told in the morning, he should obey. He cannot cross the road. That means he cannot obey, or he cannot fulfill what is told in the afternoon. Suppose he has to obey what is told in the afternoon, go and get the groceries, he has to violate what is told in the morning. So this is a type of a problem in the communication, a conflict in communication. And same thing can happen, like another example between couple, if I say, the wife requests husband, may I go home. I mean, she wants to go to her own house. Then he shouts at her like, you are not thinking, you are not taking care of my house, you are not taking care of the duties here, you always think of your house, you want to go home, then be there, like that he is scolding categorically. And what happens, the day evening, when he is back home, she's there. Ah, you are here. You told that you go home today and you are still here. Why didn't you go? What she should answer. That means morning he scolded her. He was against her going home, and now he is asking like, why you didn't go home? You can understand this is a type of conflict. And another example like the it is mother always tells her son, see, your wife is good for nothing. She doesn't do any household activities. I will have to carry everything down. Then why did you get married, and why there is a girl at home? There is no use, all that. And he, in a difficult situation, he tells the wife, you please sweep the courtyard, you clean the house, all that. And mother overheard that. And, once she is with the broom, ready to sweep the floor or clean the house, mother-in-law also has come with a broom. So instead of cleaning the floor, what would happen. See, this is a type of a conflict. You do not know what exactly I have to carry out. Always there is a mismatch of communication, and as a result there is a mismatch of expectations, and ultimately when you are performing the role you have a conflict. You do not know what should be done and what should not be done. And another example, I say, a 10th standard student, father tells him that in your age, I used to plow the ground, I used to tender the cattle, and what best, why you are so lazy, you are like this. Then another fine morning, he comes and asks, Papa, may I go for a tour? May I go for a picnic with my friends? Picnic? You? Do you know what is your age? Then he is such a wonder. What is my age? I am of age to do work in the field, but I am not of the age to go for picnic with my here. So this is a type of conflict the child is facing. So in family life, you will come across the conflict. And this conflict can be resolved when the role is allocated. Okay, you do this, you do that. So each one is having different roles given. When it is perfectly allocated, the conflict or the strain will get reduced. Yes, next slide. Diffusion and ambiguity. It refers to more than one person being allocated the same role. The previous example also can be an example for the diffusion. The wife and the mother-in-law, or wife and the mother, both of them go for the same job. That means two persons are taking up the same job or same role. Both the mother as well as the daughter-in-law. Or two children in the house, both the brother and the sister are given the same role. Then there is always a confusion. So that is diffusion of a role. Then ambiguity occurs when no place has been made in the social system. No formal recognition given that particular status exists, that it is judged good or bad, or that it lacks regularization for what or how its occupants are. That means there is no formal recognition for the role. If I give you an example, like again the husband tells, okay, I'm not particular that you should carry out all the duties at home, or particularly the work in the kitchen, or that. But whatever you can, you do. Even if suppose the food is not prepared on time, then he comes and scolds, why didn't you do that? And you only told, no, like, I don't have to, I thought mother will do. Mother thought she will do. Nobody has done. Nothing is prepared. So that means there is an ambiguity. When the roles are not really given and it is not done, then there is always an ambiguity. I think it is already 1 hour past. So shall we have a break? 5 minutes break? Is that
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
we'll stop here. I think now it is 10:37. Maybe 7 minutes we will take. 10:45 we will restart. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome back to the session. Shall we have next slide, please? Yeah. All of you are there?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll continue. The role prescription and description. Role prescription means the behavior which is socially prescribed and defined as a normative basis. So here the behavior is the events, process, and phenomena without evaluative or affective accompaniments. Then it is decided as then it is defined as descriptive. That means in a prescription, you know what should be done. It is told by others. Maybe the elders say that the wife in the house should behave in such and such way. She has such and such responsibilities. So then it is prescribed. Then without evaluating the process, if you evaluate how should behave, that means when you prepare a food items, the recipe is given. So that recipe shows how it should be prepared. So similarly, the behavior at home, how it should be, when it is explained, then you say that it is descriptive. And some of the traditional families, you will find both prescription and descriptions are there. If both prescription and the description are present, it is no problem provided you are ready to accept it. But if you are not ready to accept it, or your spouse is not ready to accept it, then there is a problem. There is a conflictual situation. So regarding role prescription and description, the presence and or absence of prescription and description matters, and at the same time its acceptance. That means when the prescription is present or absent, if it is present and if it is accepted, then there is no problem. If it is absent but it is not accepted, then there is a problem. So similarly, description also, when description is there but it is accepted, then there is no problem. So you don't have to break your head. The only thing is whether the prescription or description is present, you have to make an inquiry. Then once it is present, if it is accepted by the person as well as the partner, then there is no problem. If it is not accepted, then there is two options. Either you make the other person to accept it or the person to understand it. The second option is if they are not ready to accept it, change it. That means making some alteration in the description and prescription. That's it. Only with some cases, if I can give you an example, in a particular case, the husband always says that, okay, once I come home after work, the tea should be ready. Okay, and description also is there, like tea should have this much of sugar and it should be prepared in such a way. Suppose it is not done, he gets accept. The rest of the day is very troublesome. So in such case, he has prescription and description for the role of the wife, but at the same time, if they are not fulfilled, it gives an issue. That really creates a problem with the family. That is a difficult situation for the wife. So what is the remedy? Either you will have to cut short the descriptions, if at all you accept the prescription. If she is not ready for that, what are the other alternatives? You'll have to find some other alternatives. Maybe like, to give an example for the same situation, the instead of mixing the sugar, you keep the sugar separate, or keep the milk, hot water or powder, everything separate, and let the husband mix it and use it accordingly. So like that, there can be some alternative where you vary the descriptions and thereby both are able to accept it. And if both are not ready to accept, if both are very stubborn, then you are helpless. That means in family situation, you will come across a situation where both are very stubborn, both understand the situation, they realize it, but they are not ready to change. They are not ready to make any alterations. So in such situation, it will be very difficult. Next, explicit and implicit roles. Explicit role means the role is open to observation. That means everybody knows what the role is. Everybody knows that, okay, wife of the house has such and such duties. The husband of the house does such and such work. The mother-in-law has such and such work. So it is explicit. It is known to everyone. Whereas implicit role means those roles the person is not aware of and are usually unconscious. To give you an example, maybe the method of greeting in certain cultures, how the wife greets, or so to say, like in some communities, you will just say namaste. Whereas in some communities, you fall at the feet of the elder and touch their feet. So that is a difference in greeting. And it is an implicit role. And sometimes this implicit role, they do it and they have learned it from the past. And as regards our family therapeutic situation, the explicit role or implicit role, whether they are present or absent, is the first concern. Second concern is if they are present, whether they are accepted by the other. If they are not accepted by the other, then there is a problem. So we'll have to discuss with them and make some alterations. Next, the role accountability and acceptance. It refers to the accountability is the process of holding members accountable for the functions that they have been allocated to them. The work in the kitchen, the work in the field, the taking care of the children. So everything is given to them. So they are accountable. That means suppose the food is not ready on time, the one who is responsible for that, he or she will have to be accountable for that. Acceptance means if you're acknowledging and accepting the role allocated, suppose you don't accept it, but out of force you do, then definitely there will be a problem in the family relationship. So that's why you have the role accountability and at the same time its acceptance matters. You can make an inquiry whether there is an accountability for the roles, then whether there is equally accepted by the person as well as others. Next. Yeah, instrumental and expressive roles. The instrumental role, I think the best example is, suppose you may remember your good old days where you were so naughty and you have done some mischief. Then the mother will tell you, like, let dad comes, let you know. Then, of course, you are familiar with the situation. And once the dad comes, she complains. And he is there about to punish you. He comes with a cane. She is giving you some punishment. Then mother comes in between and says, no, excuse her, next time she will not. So that means mother is having a expressive role, whereas father is having a instrumental. So that is why the occupant of the instrumental role is like a court of appeal or final judge. Whereas, next slide, please. The expressive role is more of a mediator or conciliator of the family. When there is a dispute or hostility in the family, he or she will intervene and try to resolve it. So, like a solicitor or a comforter or consoler of the family members, particularly the children. It can vary. In some families, the mother may be the instrumental role and father may be the expressive role. That's why they say that if both the parents punish the child will be nowhere. Whereas if one is punishing, the other is comforting or consoling, it will be a type of complementary behavior towards the child. And these instrumental and expressive roles can be there between the couple. If it is complementary, where one is having a type of instrument, taking an instrumental role, and the other is taking an expressive role, then it is all right. But when there is a conflict, like both of them are instrumental or both of them are expressive, that also matters. Usually you ask a question like, in a family situation, particularly in a behavior modification, is punishment useful? Then what would you say? Whether you should go for your positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, or restriction or punishment. What do you recommend? Anybody? Hello? Are you all there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Did you get my question? Did you get my...
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Suppose in a family situation, what should be the reinforcement used? Like punishment, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement? I hope you all know the difference between all.
Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement. Then what about punishment? We should never use punishment.
It will used when it is necessary.
Harmless
When
punishment.
it is needed. Yeah. Then the question comes, what is harmful punishment and harmless? Okay, take it. According to the situation, when the positive reinforcement is always recommended, when that is not helpful, maybe you go for negative reinforcement. And sometimes when it is in such a situation that you can't but punish the child, then you have to. So the instrumental and expressive role, the instrumental it is not always regarding the punishment, but it is always like the final judge or the final word. Then expressive role is where you are trying to resolve the issue by consulting, comforting, all that. I hope you understood. Next slide, please. Yeah, now we come to communication. Yes. I think communication probably we will have, let me see whether yeah, I think there is an effective communication video. The operator, can you just the 13th in the PPT of videos, 13th video. Can you just display?
1 minute, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah. won't you listen to me when you feel boring? Isn't it? So let us watch a clip. 1 3.
What's the number you said, sir? 13.
Number 13. Yeah, 1
Yeah,
3.
okay. Thank you.
I think in the second slide, maybe. Yeah, yeah, the last one. Yeah. This control and click. Yeah. Press
This one,
control and
sir.
click. Yeah. Press control key and click on that 13. Then it will play.
I'm not able to do it, sir.
Okay. Let me try from here then.
1 minute, sir. So for a while, I just asked Jennifer ma'am to do that.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm not able to do that, sir. I just want to ask Jennifer ma'am.
Yeah, I think it has come appeared in mine.
Has it come? Are you able to do that?
Yeah.
Will you be able to do that, sir?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah. Hello. This is the link he was.
Are you able to see? Can I play?
Yes, sir. We can see that video. It's visible, sir.
Pardon?
It's visible. You can see it.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
But I don't know whether the
Yeah,
voice.
yeah. It's fine. Audio also?
No,
Audio,
sir.
no. Audio, students, are you able to hear?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, sir.
No, ma'am.
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh.
We are not able to.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Sir, you're mute now. That's why.
Huh? Are you saying something, Sneha?
No, no, no,
Yes,
no.
ma'am. That slide is mute, sir.
Okay, okay. I will try once again.
He wants to open the video.
Can
Audio
can you hear?
is not working.
Can you hear?
No, sir. Audio is not
No,
working.
sir.
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Link is this link. Is it here? Is it?
Now?
So Jennifer has come. We'll just try.
Ah, okay, okay. So I will stop.
Yeah, you may stop.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like once, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she is getting prepared. Like
Yes,
we'll
sir.
discuss
Yeah.
regarding. Once Jennifer is ready, let me know. Uh, Regarding the communication, the video just shows a general effectiveness of communication. Very, uh, just 4 minutes. That's it. Then another communication in the family, also a simple one we will see. Further, we get into different types of communication in the family.
Styles of communication. Joining us today in studio to delve into this a little more deeply is family counselor Andrew Blackwood. For over a decade, Andrew's worked closely with families to help develop healthy relationships. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for being here.
Wait. He is known as Coach Drew.
Coach Drew.
It's
Really?
Drew, yes.
Now, coach is supposed to be, you're supposed to have a whistle around your neck.
Yes. Well,
Different kind of coach?
Yeah, I
Different.
don't need to use a whistle.
Okay.
may I ask you, your professional advice, do we have good communication skills?
Good. What exactly do you mean by good? See, this
Yeah,
is
what
a,
does
this
she
is a
mean by communication?
skill.
I don't know.
Clarification. What
Clarification.
exactly do you mean by good?
Well, I feel like he just speaks over me. No, I'm kidding. No, this is about you. So you come across families who have issues with communicate, and you and I had a conversation about feelings. Why do you believe so many people have a hard time expressing their feelings?
Yeah, and parents, when they
And
ask
parents,
kids, like,
yes.
they say to the 14-year-old, how you feeling, whatever. Typically, they don't get much of an answer. Are cell phones a big barrier to communication?
I think larger than the cell phone barrier is sometimes parents are doing things that they're not aware of that are kind of causing a disconnection, right? The way that we communicate When we communicate, are we more nagging? Are we talking about things that haven't been done? Okay, when you're going to do this? Are we voicing and phrasing our concerns in a way that are kind of pushing us apart?
Yes.
So that can contribute
Yes.
to.
And that's typical. Most parents, that's the default mode. In other words, normally that's what parents do. It's what I do, it's what my parents did, and you have to unlearn it, sounds like.
Right.
And also the need, as we were just talking during the commercial, this feeling, like this yearning to be known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids want to be known or
Yeah.
famous. They want this fame.
You mean fame? Wait, what do you mean fame?
Well, in the sense of like, if you're on Facebook and you have X amount of people following you now these days, it's like you're famous.
You matter.
You matter.
Right? It's about significance,
Yeah.
right? How do I know that I'm important? If I was gone, would it make a difference? Family communication, effective qualitative communication is going to convey that.
Kids are going to get that from their parents
Right.
and not be looking for it on Facebook.
So
is what
for
you're
the
saying.
parents watching out there and for the viewers right now, especially when children become teenagers, we tend to disconnect. What are some of the tips that parents can learn from today, in order to communicate better with their children?
Well, I think part of it is expecting that, anticipating some sort of distance, and for the most part, it can be really good.
People warned me. I didn't believe it. I said, my daughter will be different. She's not.
But part of it is healthy, right? If they're coming from a place where they have an established sense of significance,
Yeah.
then now they're going to say, okay, well, how do I fit in the rest of the world? What matters to me? Like, where's my place? That needs to happen. That when they get even older, they have that confidence, that experience, right? But then the other part is, what's happening that's causing the lack of significance and security to happen in that home. People are different. Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, really highlights that so well. Because
Finding
you might
the language of your
exactly,
child.
exactly.
I love
exactly.
that. Oh my gosh, I never realized that children have their own love language.
Yes.
And figuring that out, just because
And
they're your
each child might feel a little bit differently
Different.
and respond differently.
Yes, that's
so
right.
you could spend 10 hours with one child,
Yeah.
and all they really need is a pat on the shoulder or
Right.
words to say that, you know what, you did a great job today.
Wow. Speaking
was
of
so
which,
enlightening, yes.
you did a great job today. Thank you for being with us. We
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Andrew, Coach Drew.
Yes, thank you. Can we get back to the slide? Meanwhile, can you please respond? What is the gist of the video, or how the communication is effective? Can anybody say? Hello. Hello. Yeah. How the communication is effective?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah. From the video, what did you understand? How the communication is effective?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I hope you understood the video. From the video, what did you understand? What is the effective communication in the family?
We have to understand all the aspect of the communication, not just verbal, but
Yeah.
the non-verbal body language and all the other things we need to understand while communicating.
So that's why the communication, we say it is affective status of the communication, communication of the feelings. That means very often we will communicate. The only thing is the other party, the listener, he or she will understand something or they will carry it out. No. Whether the person has understand the feelings, the child should feel that he or she should be understood. His or her feelings should be understood by the parent. And nowadays, the children are very sensitive, and they will easily recognize if there is something hidden, if there is a type of hidden agenda in the very communication of the parents. So that's why I think it is your own experience must be like, when your parents express something, if they are genuine, you will understand it. If they are not genuine, you will sense it. That shows there is a communication of feelings. And we will come to know the, can you just go to the previous slide? Previous slide. Yeah. See, there are different types of communication, like the direct, indirect, verbal, non-verbal. Then there is ambiguous communication, paradoxical communication, and switchboard communication. And we need to know the equality of participation and clarity of communication. So can you go to the 35th slide? Yeah. The channels of communication is who speak. I mean, of course, you know it. I think we'll skip this one. Next one. Yeah. The direct communication. When the message is spoken directly to the person for whom it is intended. That means the person is present, or over phone directly you are addressing the person. Then there is a direct communication. Whereas indirect communication is when the messages are unclear. That means the message received is different from that is sent. It can be like the punning of words, or it can be with a what we call negative implication, or you have some hidden agenda when you are communicating. It's a sort of indirect communication. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. Verbal, of course, you know, it is a spoken or written word, whereas non-verbal is your gestures, as we saw in the video, the patting, all that. This is important. Paradoxical communication. That means there is a contradiction that follows correct deduction from consistent premises. That means you say, yeah, I will visit you unexpectedly this evening. So that means when you are expressing unexpectedly, means it is already expected. So something paradox is within the sentence. So similarly, you have communicated something as a given the example of double bind communication, the example of the boy who should not cross the highway, and mother gives another instruction, you go and get the groceries or bakery items, whatever, from the shop across the highway. So there is something paradoxical. That is also known as a double bind communication. So sometimes in family communication, such a type of double bind communication takes place. You communicate something verbally, whereas your feeling is you should not do this, or you should act the other way. So that is a type of paradox. Next one. There is switchboard communication, where the communication is the third party is getting involved. That means there is a fight between father and mother, and the mother communicates to the daughter, you go and tell papa. And father tells the son, you go and tell it to your mother. So that means they don't communicate directly, through the children they are communicating. It's a type of switchboard communication. Next. The affective status. So communication of feeling is more important. So whether it is an ambiguous communication or a paradox communication or switchboard communications, when you are trying to correct it, you will have to sense the communication of feelings in that. So naturally, once we diagnose the problem of communication in a family, we go for quality time. Can somebody say, if at all you have heard, what is quality time? In family, what is quality time?
Spending individual time for each other or for self.
Okay, you are giving individual time for each other. Okay, in the family. Anything else? Any more explanation? Anyone else? Spending time together. Yes. Further. See, suppose the husband, wife, and children. The best example now, this lockdown age, lockdown time. Lockdown time, the entire family was together. Can you say that that is a quality time? Discussing everything openly. Yeah. But I don't think that it is fully quality time. Why means like you are together, you are under the same roof, and the rule of the government restrict that you can't go out. Therefore, you are inside. You are together. But suppose you are not talking, or you are have a ventilation of feelings, or something negative, then can you say that it is a quality time? Now I am trying to confuse you. Sometimes the confusion will bring the right result. Anybody, please. See, you are
So
together.
quality time may be like they are spending together, but at the same time validating each other's feelings, sharing things.
Yeah, they are validating each other and trying to express. To little more specific, I can give this example. Usually, I used to say in the sessions, see, you are in the table during dinner, then maybe in some families for the prayer you are together. So it's a part of quality time, but it has not come to the real quality time. Why means you are not fully listening the other, or valuing the other, validating the other. All these are not happening. But once you are valuing the other, validating the other, you are listening well, and you are reciprocating in a positive response. So all that would be a part of quality time. Further, when you say a husband and wife spending some quality time, we need to give them a specific exercise. So to say, maybe after their food, regular activities at home, uh, they need to spend some time, both of them together. And even I would suggest, like, they should not lie down in the bed and spend, no. They should sit together and then have a chat. What is the topic? Anything under the sun? No. More than that, it should be a communication of feelings. You are verbally expressing your feelings. That's why in that effective communication clipping, you found that, yeah, I never expressed, the parents are telling, like, my children have a feeling that they are loved. Yes, dad and mom, they are loving me, loving us. So that should be communicated. I love you. I mean, the pat, or verbally you are expressing it. So that means the communication of feeling should deliberately take place. Then the quality time will have its full meaning. Are you getting me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this could be given like an exercise in the family session. You help them, you just tell them, like, you spend some maybe 10 minutes, to start with 10 minutes, then gradually they can improve. And from my experience, what I found, that those families who deliberately have done this, it's like doing an assignment in the classroom, or homework. They have to do it. Once they do it, gradually they find a type of improvement in their relationship, means improvement in their communication. So that's why the quality time, those families who spend minimum 10 minutes quality time expressing their feelings and validating each other, and then they will never have a breakup. There never will be a separation or divorce. So this would be one meaning. I think there are cases like from the family court, the judge used to refer cases to our clinic. And then I found those families, those who literally practiced this quality time, they even withdrew their case from the family court. And those who were about to separate or those who were about to divorce, they have come together. So ultimately, once we deal with the communication effectively with the quality time, that is the affective status of the communication of feelings, affective status, communication of feelings, once we deal effectively, that will have its results. Hope the communication part, you got some idea. Of course, once you deal with the real case, real time case, you will come to know or get to know more about it. Next, enforcement. Yeah, reinforcement. I think this is, you have studied in your general psychology. I mean, starting from your, what do you call it, the Paulo's rules, the conditioning, and all those classical examples. You have learned this reinforcement. Of course, then in your the behavior psychology, cognitive psychology, again you have more of exposure regarding reinforcement. But coming to the family per se, can you explain in your own words how will you do positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and what are the instances of punishment, and how will you tackle them? What should be the reinforcement? I am posing a question to you. Is anybody, please? Yes, you are encouraging and appreciating each other. Very good. So that is what type of reinforcement? Positive or negative?
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Positive.
Positive. Yeah. Then, can anybody say any example of negative reinforcement? In a family situation? Usually we do with the children. What are they? Suppose the child doesn't study. What do you do?
Positive.
Pardon?
Positive.
No. Negative reinforcement example I am asking.
For example, for the kids, it will be like so cutting of their playing time or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or watching movie or playing games in the mobile phone, whatever, you are restricting that, you are cutting that. So that is a type of negative reinforcement. Of course, punishment definitely, can be introducing either a psychological or a physical pain, so that, or it is related to some of the aversive therapy, so that you are withdrawing yourself from such a behavior. Definitely, in a family, first you have to explore what are the existing reinforcement methods, whether they are talking ill of each other, blaming each other, bullying, or pulling one another. So you have to find out what is the type of reinforcement existing. Then discuss with them, does it help them, or does it, what is the feeling of the other? And finally, you can track down and lead them to a behavior where there is a positive reinforcement is really encouraging, and that help them to grow. Next slide, please. Cohesiveness. So this cohesiveness has some relation with the boundary which we have discussed earlier. What is given in red, like the enmeshed, healthy connectedness, healthy separatedness, and disengaged. This suppose you consider like I will just draw and show you. Yeah. enmeshed, then healthy connectedness, then healthy separateness, then disengaged. Can you see? Can you see the line?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. See, suppose it is enmeshed. Enmeshed means there are too much interactions, isn't it? Too much involvement. From there, if you reduce the interaction, it will go up to healthy connectedness. And consider a disengaged or a closed boundary where there is no interaction. If you improve, then the goal is like from this disengaged state, it has to come to healthy connectedness. From enmeshed, it has to come to a healthy separatedness. Okay, so that type of change, if it takes place in the relationship, then the cohesiveness is in a better situation. So that means from an enmeshed situation, the goal of the therapy is it should go to a healthy separatedness, so that sufficient distance between the couple. Then it will become a clear and open boundary. Suppose the family is disengaged, then the interactions has to be more and the relationship should reach a level of healthy connectedness. Then the boundary will be clear and open. And some of the parameters to assess where the family stands in cohesiveness, the social interactions, the personal relationship, then the emotional activities they engage in, the feelings they express, the bond they have, the dependence each other, dependent or independent each other, all these. Then plus the family rituals. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think what I have explained is there. It is the enmeshed relationship. Then next one, next slide, please. Next slide, please. This way. Yeah, healthy separatedness and healthy connectedness. That also I think it is more or less clear for you. Next one, family rituals. Yeah. Can anybody say what are the family rituals? Some examples of family rituals? Anybody? From your any other psychology classes? Rituals, what do you mean by?
Like so set of rules and regulation that they will be following from their culture, like past
Okay.
culture.
Yeah,
Maybe
very
for
good.
example, it can be like religion to religion. Like certain
Yeah,
religion have certain
going to a temple or church or mosque together,
yes,
or
yes,
some
yes,
going for a pilgrimage. Then in your day-to-day
exactly.
activities, one family ritual.
Gathering together
Any
for
main
breakfast or
family.
dinner.
Yeah, for any meals, you are dining together, then praying together or playing together, even watching movie together. So these are all family rituals. Any event where the families in their routine life, they spend time together, that is family rituals. So a family which is very closed and rigid, you have to increase their family rituals. Whereas a family which is enmeshed, interwoven, you have to decrease their family rituals. Then they will get some personal space. They say virtue is balanced. I mean, virtue stands in the middle. So similarly, the good behavior, acceptable behavior is somewhere in the middle. It should not be in the extremes. The closed and rigid is harmful, enmeshed or too much interaction is also harmful. Somewhere healthy separatedness or healthy connectedness, they are advisable. Next. Yeah, I think this we have explained. Next one. Yeah, adaptive patterns. I think in the dynamics, this is the last element. where there is a conflicting resolutions or problem solving. Probably you might have studied in your some other classes what are the problem solving techniques. Can anybody say? Problem solving techniques or steps in problem solving. I think it's better to put in that. Can anybody say? Steps in problem solving.
The first can be identifying the problem.
Identifying,
Yeah, very good. Second one.
explore, and brainstorming for solutions.
Okay. Then, so as a result of the brainstorming, what you will get? You can list
Multiple
out,
solutions.
yeah, list out the solutions or list out the alternatives. Yeah. Then, what is the third step?
Identify the most convenient solution.
Yeah, most convenient or most suitable solution in a
Evaluating,
family's. Yeah, please.
evaluating.
Yeah, evaluating the alternatives help them to analyze. Especially in a family situation, the alternatives may vary. For example, wife wants to go home, then husband says no, you should not go home. You remember the case which I have referred the other day, like the wife's threw a knife to the husband and it hit on the heel of the husband, got hurt. So in that situation, uh, when the alternatives was given, like wife had the alternative favorable to her is to go home, whereas husband has the alternative that is in favor of like being in his house and tendering the child or taking care of the family household duties, all that. So that means there will be a problem of balancing. Then you should tell them to list them down, literally write them down and weigh the pros and cons. Which alternative has more positives, less negative? So once you make such a type of evaluation, such a type of analysis, they will be able to arrive at some conclusion where that gives maximum positive and minimum problem for them. Then they can go for a decision. Then coping strategy. There is a series of action uh, which utilizing in meeting a stressful or unpleasant situation. It is more or less the individual coping strategies and the family coping strategies. Uh, they say a conscious and direct approach to problem is in contrast to defense mechanism. Very often, the problems are resolved in a family situation, particularly a dysfunctional family. We adopt or the family adopt a defense mechanism. Is it really a problem solving? No, it's an escapism, escaping from the reality. So the reality is identify what exactly the problem and what are the pros and cons of each. Identify the alternatives. Then in each alternative, what are the pros and cons, and which one give maximum positive or maximum comfortable situation for both the spouse or the entire family, and you help them to choose it. And sometimes you will have to give any number of life situations. Pick those situations from their past life and tell them to apply in future. The similar problems occur. How will you deal with? And then, you'll have to train them to deal with the problem solution. By just giving the theory doesn't work out. Theory after all, it only helps us. But a family who comes with a concrete problem, whatever dynamics we learn, they are there for us to help these people to arrive at a solution. It is only to pin where exactly their problem is, where exactly they are at present, and how exactly they have to change. So we are making a type of situation analysis, thereby you are helping the family to grow in a more mature way. Next one. Yeah. And some of the adaptive patterns, I think the social support system will help us. You know, the primary social support system, family is a primary social support system. Then the relatives and friends comes the secondary social support system, and of course the hospital or the working place, the agencies or the religious institutions, they are all in the tertiary sector. And sometimes you find that the primary support system is lacking. You have no support from the family. Then comes the secondary, you are surviving with the support of the secondary situation. And sometimes you will find some family there, they don't have primary, either primary or secondary, only the tertiary system is supporting them. Maybe some they are in the orphanage or some rehabilitation center or some shelter homes where they support. So once we start practicing, we will come to know all these. So we need to identify whether each of the supportive system is active or not. I think if you can spare time till 12 o'clock, I will just hurriedly go through some of the techniques which we can use in our family. Madam, that hypothesis diagnosis slide, please. Yeah. Next one. I will not spend much of the time for the definition and so on. See, hypothesis, you know, in your research, it is a tentative statement. It is a preposition. So similarly, in a family, having a problem, when you are diagnosing them based on the life cycle stages, in each life cycle stages, you apply the family dynamics and try to define what exactly the problems are. Then you are arriving at a tentative statement. Suppose the problem is like this, this can be the solution. For a single problem, there can be 100 solutions. And sometimes in the family therapy workshop, I used to make the students to write down the typical hypothesis. And there may be different number of hypotheses. And whether, as like in a research, you try to test the hypothesis and you try to find out whether this will fulfill or not. And it will be so amazing that the so-called hypothesis, which looks very strange in the sense the external behaviors are not the real causes of the family problem. The hidden behavior, which we discussed the other day, the undercurrent problems may be relevant. So once you make a hypothesis accordingly, that will help. Again, I will quote the same example so that it will be more clear. In the case which I told just now, the lady who had a type of maternal tradition of power structure, where she wanted to have the power in the family, she told at least 1 year, I will go home so that I can exercise my power until my brother gets married. So you are definitely, the power struggle is the problem, and you are choosing a hypothesis accordingly. On the other hand, suppose you are choosing a hypothesis believing her words that her husband has got some illicit relationship, therefore you have to resolve the unnecessary what do you call the you have some you have to deal with the husband's illicit relationship, then naturally your hypothesis will go wrong. Then your end result means the real problem you have not addressed. So that is why you can choose several hypotheses and you have to analyze in the particular family situation, which hypothesis has more possibility or rather more probability to be true. I hope at least something I'm clear. Only when you take the real-time cases and apply with the hypothesis, or formulate the hypothesis, it will be more clear. Yes, next one. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, it can be the hypothesis how will you form in a therapeutic context, or based on the boundaries, or the family game. So in this typical case, she was playing a family game. She was attributing her restlessness because of the power struggle to the problem of the husband or to the problem of the mother-in-law. So that is a type of family game. And in some cases, you will find very funny family games. Even some of the patients who turn out to be psychotic or affective syndromes, that affective syndrome or the psychotic syndrome seems to be a family game. So you'll have to find it out, identify it, then make a hypothesis to identify the real problem and deal with that. Next, please. Yeah. I don't know whether this circular questions. By the way, have you learned these circular questions in any other counseling technique classes? Pardon?
No, sir.
Okay. Actually, in a family counseling, we use circular questions. So I will explain like the same question you are asking to, suppose there are 5 members in a family counseling. The same question you are asking to all of them. Okay. That is why ask questions of each member about who does what relating to the problem, symptom, or your hypothesis. I will give an example of the family where the other day told, the eldest daughter got schizophrenia. And in that family, there are her 2 younger brothers are there. Then father and mother. So altogether 5-member family. And I told you in that family, there is a power struggle. Both the father and mother comes from, they are the eldest children in their respective family of origin. So here you are asking, you are dealing with the decision making, and you arrived at a hypothesis that there is an authoritarian style of decision making in the family, not a democratic. So you are asking of course, the eldest daughter is schizophrenic, then you can make her sit in the session, but if she is not oriented, you cannot ask any questions. If she has no insight also, you cannot go with questions. Just spare her. You ask the eldest boy whether father discussed with the mother and everybody when he has to take a major decision like going for an outing or going for a celebration, all that. Then he says no. Father makes a decision. We have to. Then you ask the youngest son. Then he also says sometimes he mentioned, but he takes his own decision. Then you are asking the mother. Then she says that never in my life I could find that he is asking my opinion. I have to just follow whatever decision he makes. So that means the same question you have asked to all the 3, and that helps you to confirm your hypothesis. Are you getting me? This is a sequence of interaction. Then ask for specific interactive behavior. Suppose, how is the communication of the mother? You can ask the father and all the children about the communication of the mother or between the family members. So specific interactive behavior, like when somebody is angry, how do you behave? When somebody is very tensed, how is the behavior? Then ask about difference and changes in the past, present, future, and in some hypothetical events. That means 10 years back, how was the communication or how you used to interact at home? Then now, how is it? Then what do you think in the future? So like that. Next slide. Yeah. Then ask who agrees with whom about the sequence presented. That means suppose you are giving some instances, for example, the communication, direct communication. They say that no, there is no direct communication, only ambiguous communication is present. We are not using the terminology in the real counseling. We have to use the exact situation or exact instance that takes place. Okay. Then who agrees with whom about each of them? This decision making, again, I will come back so that you will understand better. When the son, the eldest son says that, okay, father never explains. The second son says that sometimes he tells me. What do you mean by sometime? Then you ask, suppose your father tells you, do you tell your elder brother, do you communicate your elder brother that father has told? Then do you ever ask to your mother that whatever communicated by your father that is told to mother? So like that, again, you are asking the agreement of the same question between the three of them. So that shows who agrees with whom. Okay. Then ask for each member's explanation for certain members' behavior. Sometimes it may be emotional ventilations like getting angry or crying behavior or temper tantrums. So whatever is, how the reaction of one member. Suppose the wife says that he always fight with me and he's shouting at me, sometimes physically abuse me. And you ask the children. Then the children says that no, we have never seen, or at least the eldest boy says, I have never seen. The daughter also says, I have not seen like that. So that means the wife must be making a false allegation. Okay. So like that, when you are cross-checking, so that is circular question. When you are making a question interactive, that helps them to have more understanding. Then ask questions of each member about other family members, their behaviors, beliefs, values, thoughts, traditions, habits, feeling, and relationship. Each of them you can use it. Okay. Then you make a compare and contrast the similarities and the differences. So which are the facts they agree and which are they do not agree. So then you will come to the reality. Then investigate differences or changes in coalition over time and how these changes may be related to present dysfunction, how it is causing the problem to aggravate. You are not like you are saying now, like fueling the fire. So how it adds fuel to the fire. Next slide, please. Yeah. Ask who agrees or disagrees with whom, as this also provide information about relationship. Then the explanation or the meaning or the coalition, split and pattern of relating in the family. So this circular question, asking the same question to each one of them and comparing and contrasting help us to realize where the exact situation is. Next. Yeah. So this circular question you can use when you are taking the history and also during the intervention. So now we are coming to the intervention part. Okay, you are using the circular questions. Each member. Hello, the previous slide. Okay, now come to the next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Ask questions of each member which serve primarily to challenge, inform, or instruct indirectly. That means some of your questions based on your hypothesis or based on your diagnosis, you are trying to challenge them. So challenging, confronting. Okay. Then you are using circular questions for the hypothesis. Then begin with questions which are least offensive and threatening. See, suppose, I mean, you might have learned in your psychology the intervention technique of flooding. Suppose you have fear of cockroaches. You lock down the person in a room full of cockroaches. That is a flooding, isn't it? But when in a family therapy, if you try that, they will never turn up. You will have to close down your clinic. So you start with the least offensive or threatening question and observe the family response, and gradually you can proceed. Then ask questions which may prompt members to try out new behavior. So when there is a slight change in the behavior, you appreciate them and thus you can proceed in your therapy. Next. Yeah, and I will just share some of the techniques. Therapeutic spontaneity. The same example I told, the lady who threw the knife, that case, when the husband told she goes her home every week, then I tap the desk, I told. So this is a therapeutic spontaneity. So that means suddenly when you recognize the crutch of the problem, the clue of the problem, and you are identifying it, and you are letting the clients know this exactly the real problem. Then you consider family as a unit in a structural or systematic therapy. Then joining therapy to use of self, some of the past examples or your own family life without disclosing, I mean, keeping the confidentiality and the privacy, you can use it. Then planning according to the nature of the family. Whether it is like sometimes you will come across the family where the husband is from abroad, I mean, a foreign nation, and wife is from India, or sometimes you will come across the people from different religions and so on. So like that, when there are people from across the different culture or different faith or different background, you have to understand according to their nature. Of course, usually in the workshop, I used to tell them in a psychoanalytic perspective, you should get to know about the family of origin in depth. Why? Means that will help you to determine how a person will behave in a family. And unless and until you know the past background, you cannot come to know the personality. It's not necessary that somebody should have some personality disorder, but that personality orientation have a say in the family. I can give you an example like one couple approached our center that they don't have children. Of course, they don't naturally walk into a counseling center where they don't have children. Of course, they might have consulted a gynecologist, fertility clinic, all that. Then they walked in. Then the thing is that the physician ruled out all the possibilities of a physiological problem for not having an issue. So that means naturally it will be psychological. So when I have taken their history, I could sense that there is something which the lady of the wife, she doesn't want to disclose in the presence of the husband. So with the permission of the husband, I allowed her a individual session. In the individual session, she disclosed her the history of past abuse. And that abuse has given a problem, what we call the vaginismus, that is the contraction. I mean, during the intercourse there is no contraction of the vagina. So then I had to give her individual sessions to have a type of grief session upon the past events happened. Sometimes it can happen nowadays. During your college days, you had some affair, and finally the person ditched you, and ultimately, you got to marry somebody who is a new person, and you are always having, it is not of your fault, that separation. So you are always having that partner who was with whom you were in affair, and therefore in this new relationship you can't easily get involved. So there requires a type of grieving in order to get separated from the past relationship. And once you fully resolve the complications or the trauma of the past relationship, then you will be prepared to accept the new person in your life. So nowadays you should think that the marriage by a ritual itself doesn't give all the sanctions. Okay, it gives the sanction of the customs and traditions, but it doesn't give a psychological sanction for your personal life to get involved in a family. Therefore, you need to analyze, you need to find out that are there some unresolved emotional problems of the past. And once that is solved, then only the person will be in a situation to get into a proper cohesiveness, a proper relationship with each other. So that is why you have to plan according to the nature of the family. Then change by challenging the family system and family structure. You will have to, I think it is already 12 o'clock. Would you like me to spend a couple of minutes so that at least the techniques I can finish? If you want, then otherwise we'll stop here. I'm bound by time. So the madam told up to 12 o'clock.
Students, please give your response.
If
Yes,
you
sir.
wish, I can briefly explain everything, maybe another 5-10 minutes and finish it off. Or we'll stop
Yes,
here.
sir.
You want? Okay. Yeah. Now then next technique is changing by challenging the family system and family structure. The challenging method I am not explaining much because you know it from the from your lecturers, from your professors. But how you are applying it to the family structure means each of the family situation that is problematic, where you diagnose like a enmeshed family or a closed family, so that you have to challenge the family. You make them understand whether you are comfortable with that situation. Okay, so that is challenging. Then reframing. See, frame means, see, you have your mobile phone, it has got a frame, or your laptop, you have a frame. So similarly, this family structure has got a frame. That means those factors that determine this particular family structure. So you are trying to alter it, making a type of paradigm shift. So that is reframing. That means that challenging will ultimately result into a type of new behaviors, new patterns, new attitudes by which you are reframing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Enactment, collecting useful information through spontaneous transaction. As and when we interact with the couple, sometimes, you know, the subconscious mind act unexpectedly. So they will pour out some behaviors or some statements which will be very proper, very useful for our therapeutics, for our therapy. So in the therapeutic situation, enactment is nothing but you collect useful information from the spontaneous transactions. Then focus on them to work towards a change. So when that here, when the husband said, my wife wants to go home every week, that transaction, that spontaneous transaction made me to understand that here there is a problem of power struggle. That is because of the maternal tradition which she learned from her family of origin. So when you focus on that, there is a solution for the problem. Then intensity through repetition of messages and transactions and change of time and distance. That means certain transactions you will have to repeat. You ask them to repeat, or you allow them to apply to various time. Distance here means, suppose you are, how do you feel about, do you often think about the your wife's the communication method, her nagging behavior when you are in the workplace? So that means emotionally whether it is haunting him. So you are trying to make a type of comparative analysis in distance. Then in time also, like in the past how it has happened, present how it is, in the future how it is. So thus you are making a comparison of the transactions between them. So that will help them. And some messages you will have to repeat. Then restructuring means it is like when the boundary is diffuse, you make it clear and open. When it is closed and rigid, again make it clear and open. So from an enmeshed thing to a healthy separatedness, from a closed and rigid to a healthy connectedness. So that is a type of restructure. Next slide, please. Yeah, boundaries, of course. we discussed sufficiently. Then unbalancing, changing the hierarchical relationship of members in a subsystem. Sometimes they feel one is important, or there is a partiality, they say in a popular terminology. So how there is a balance of the system, and that we need to make a type of unbalancing, so that there is a proper balance which will make the family functional. And complementarity, of course, as I explained, when there is a role multiplicity, you are making a complementarity. So similarly, in all the different dynamics, you can make a complementarity where whatever we discuss is acceptable for both of you. Then reality. So developing a worldview. They think that my family has only this problem. Only between there won't be any couple in the world other than like ours. So that means we are problem couple. No, there are people like that. There are people with more problems. You might, in your usual counseling situation, you might have come to know that because of the financial burden, some people commit suicide. But you know, a person commits suicide because he has only 50,000 burden, but there are people surviving without committing suicide who have crores or lakhs of rupees financial burden, financial indebtedness. So that shows the reality is different. There are families like you, there are families having problems like you, but there are at the same time families who are coping up with the problems, who resolve the problems, who tries to change, and the changed world is something new. Next slide, please. Yeah, you have to construct changing the family reality by utilization of universal symbol, family truth, expert advice, all that you can use. Then paradox. Paradox is, I told you, like suppose somebody is not ready to change the behavior. You just accept that. Suppose a wife is say that I will not talk to him. Yeah, then you are saying, don't talk to him. Then she naturally thinks, why the counselor told me don't talk to my husband? Naturally, the counselor should encourage me to talk to my husband, improve my communication. Then here you are saying, don't talk, don't improve your communication. She will start thinking. That is paradox. Okay, you are just posing some questions opposite to her expectations, and that will ultimately, and then she will react in such a way that I will talk to my husband. What he will do? What will happen? See, sometimes, very often, people, when the teacher says, no, you do something, the rebellious child will be there. So, in some personality, that rebellious child is, if there is, you can use the paradox, it will work out very well. Then strength. Use characteristics of the family such as nurturing, caring, supportive transactions, how you were brought up as a babe, how it was. In some families, if the parents were having very good behavior towards the children, that will be helpful. But if it was a very punitive behavior, very troublesome family atmosphere in the past, then don't refer to them, refer to such a situation. Where there are good role models of nurturing, caring, supportive interaction, you encourage. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think this more or less we have explained. Next one. Yeah, next one. Yeah, here I would emphasize that as a therapist, you have to give more emotional support to the family. They feel that nobody understands us, nobody is supporting either primary support system or secondary support system or tertiary support system. So hence, you as a counselor should give a type of support. I think within this very brief time, maybe it's the first time I'm taking such a brief sessions. Probably, I think your faculty, those who are exposed to the field, they will be able to give you more input regarding family counseling. And suppose you wish to have a full extended family therapy workshop type of thing. Sometimes later we can have it. I mean, if the members, you all are there, we don't have to repeat what is given there. But what we can do is like taking some cases and discuss something of that sort. So that will give more uh, practical application of what we discussed these 2 days. Hope the session was useful. I think it is already 12:10. I finished with the time available. If at all you want to ask anything very particular, you can ask now, or else I think Dr. Vitsi or your Madam Jennifer can share my phone number with you, and you are welcome to personally approach me, and call me, or text me for any queries. Any questions? I think everybody is ready to end it up, or your next class must be there.
Isha, please log in. Isha,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, just turn your video on.
Yes, ma'am. I'll start, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
On behalf of the entire team of M.Sc Counselling, I would take this chance to propose the vote of thanks. First of all, my sincere thanks to the Almighty for making today's session a grand success. By His blessings and grace, we were able to make the session a successful one. I thank our esteemed speaker of the day, Dr. Prince PC, who spent his time gracing the session on family structure and dynamics. Today, we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts and opinions. This will definitely help us in our future lives, sir. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and it will help us to show a new path. A heartfelt thank you to you, sir. A special thanks to the Department of M.Sc Counselling for organizing an enlightening session. My deep sense of appreciation to our dear HOD, Rosa Matthew, and Jennifer and Wilsie ma'am for organizing this session. Lastly, I thank my dear classmates for their willingness and active participation throughout the session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Isha, thank you, madam. Thank you, all the participants, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, sir.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Wish you all the best. Bye.
Thank you, sir.